Shawn Fain endorsed Joe Biden for president. There was also, during his speech, a disruption by some of the members of the UAW who were upset that Fain ended up endorsing Biden before he called for a ceasefire, because the UAW has officially called for a ceasefire. And there's an article in The Intercept by our guest yesterday, Prem Talker, speaking to some of those UAW members who were disappointed about the fact that Fain endorsed Biden this early on. However, Fain has to represent a broad constituency, and it appears as though he held out for a while amid talks with the Biden administration for concessions and future considerations down the line, especially given the fact that Fain is calling for a general strike in 2028. And if Biden gets reelected, and if he survives until then, that will be at the tail end of his presidency, going into that election year, May Day 2028. So this was an excerpt from the speech here, Shawn Fain endorsing Biden, and he speaks about Trump and why he chose Biden over Trump.
Donald Trump is a scab. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and that's who he represents.
He's a billionaire-ish these days. Probably not.
If Donald Trump ever worked in an auto plant, he wouldn't be a UAW member. He'd be a company man trying to squeeze the American worker.
That's true.
Donald Trump stands against everything we stand for as a union, as a society. When you go back to our core issues, wages, retirement, health care, and our time, that's what this election's about. This election's about who will stand up with us and who will stand in our way. Those are the questions that will win or lose this election and will decide our fate. Those are the questions that will determine the future of our country and the fate of the working class.
So that's all accurate, right? And of course, Trump would be a scab if he even knew what it was to actually do work for a living. But he literally went to a non-union shop to get a photo op after Biden went to the picket line during the UAW strike. So that is some evidence for that case as well. Also, Trump's just whole political philosophy and the fact that Trump, as a businessman, had a long, storied history of cheating out people that he worked for, that did work for him, whether it be contractors, whether it be workers, screwing them over. That he's not the kind of guy that just screams solidarity to me. I don't know about you, Bender, but it was inevitable. I was a little surprised that it happened before any ceasefire was called for. But I think Fain has his eyes on a broader labor revolution for the country and for auto workers, especially as the UAW is ramping up its efforts in the South at non-union shops, like for Mercedes-Benz, to get even more people under the UAW umbrella and in the union.
Right. I don't know what the calculation was on the timing of that, because he was talking about Gaza and ceasefire quite recently too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Binder. Yeah. It seems like there's been a effort by him or them to get some of the better stuff that Fain represents, which is the call for a ceasefire. Yesterday, where there was the thing released maybe by Prem about how Fain had told Biden, don't be so sure that you're the pro-union president that you think you are. I think kind of like maybe looking back on that ahead of this decision, which to me, I would have gladly have supported the UAW if they held out longer, or not endorsed Joe Biden at all. I would have lent my voice to support that decision. This one, right now, though, I think it's not exactly a surprise that this is the way they went. There's not really any sort of as far as like labor in which coalition you can get, there's not really a decision between the parties right now, and it's a sign of how much, like you could say, weakness, or more optimistically, how much farther we have to go. But yeah, it'd be nice if he could extract Biden to say ceasefire. I think UAW isn't that strong yet.
Yeah. I mean,
right. The calculation there could have simply been, like you said, Matt. Like it's obvious that the union here was going to endorse Biden. The question was, when would they do it? And maybe the calculation was, maybe they hold a little bit more sway if they're in the room right now and are privy to what's possibly being discussed and going on within the administration about a variety of issues and policies.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm not privy to those conversations in part, so I hesitate to make judgments about it. I was slightly surprised on the timing, but I feel like Shawn Fain is somebody who's just been a real revelation and an important figure for labor politics in the country, and he has a lot of incentives and constituencies to respond to from within his own like rank and file and things like that. But either way, having labor leaders advocating for Biden in this election, or having someone like him being a communicator, especially as we're seeing some bad numbers out of places like Michigan, you can see why the Biden campaign would see value in that. The future is still a question mark.
Yeah, they're going to extract it and hollow it out
exactly.
for use in an electoral project, and then destroy it, which is what my concern is. And so
that's a valid concern.
Yeah,
it remains to be seen. I'm hoping that Fain, based on his track record, got some good concessions.
Yeah, I respect that process, right? Like I said, I would have supported Fain if he decided we're not endorsing anyone but again, that's a process I respect him, and also Brandon Mancia, who's another leader of the UAW, lower than Fain, obviously. I think people know that there's work to do. I think there's people in the UAW that understand the stuff as well as we do, and I respect that process, even though I'm a little bit disappointed in this.